Hey guys, it's History Behind the Warrior, and welcome back to another God of War video. Now, with us having explored Asgard's own pantheon, as well as the will and might of both Thor and Odin, in today's video, we will be talking about an infamous enemy of the Aesir gods in Norse mythology, and demon turned hero in the God of War universe, the first ever fire giant, and Asgard's destroyer, Surtr the Brave. But before we do start, as always guys, I would super appreciate it if first we could get this video to about 500 likes. The reason why is because it's a great way of supporting the channel, and it also helps give this video that extra kick right out of the gate. Plus, if you like what we do here and wish to see more, don't forget to subscribe and tick that bell. But without any further ado, let's talk about Surtr. Now, in Norse mythology, Surtr is portrayed in a very villainous light. Being a giant, Surtr was always seen as a villain to the Aesir, but unlike the giants of Jotunheim, Surtr could be described as a primordial of sorts, being nearly as old and ancient as the 9 realms themselves, only being surpassed by the very first giant, Ymir. Surtr is an ancient being, but time isn't what makes him such a threat to the Aesir. It's instead what Surtr represents in the end days of Ragnarok. The fire giant is prophesied in legend to be the one to bring an end to Asgard. By harnessing the primordial flame, he's able to imbue its immense power to his giant sword, and with this ancient blade, Surtr will plunge it into the heart of Asgard, obliterating Odin's kingdom. Now, depending on which depiction of this tale you read, in some iterations of Ragnarok, Surtr's blade is able to reach the heart of Yggdrasil and send out a fiery shockwave so strong that it engulfs everyone in the 9 realms. So, Surtr and his forces do perish, but his job is done, all is dead, and a new world blossoms from this one's ashes. It's pretty dark, but the most common depiction of Surtr's war against the Aesir is when he has his fire giants flood the gates of Asgard. With its defenses overwhelmed, Surtr is able to slay Freyr's brother, before plunging his sword into Asgard, destroying the divine city. But while successful in his mission, Surtr does not get the last laugh. With the combined might and effort of the Allfather Odin and Thor, they are able to bring an end to the fire giant's onslaught. This is of course before their own end. So with this said, what about the God of War universe? As much of this world and mythology has been twisted on its head. Well, in the God of War universe, much is the same in terms of origins. Still having been the second primordial to have come into existence, Surtr is an almighty and powerful being in the God of War universe. But unlike his villainous mythological counterpart, Surtr here is acting more as a force of nature than someone that is relishing in the destruction of the Aesir. Being aware of his purpose from the dawn of time, Surtr acts as more of an agent of Ragnarok's cycle than someone that is solely looking to take pleasure in the massacre of the gods. He believes the cycle of life and death to be absolute, and basically a necessity for the creation of a better tomorrow. Surtr trains every day, honing his skills and blade for the day of reckoning, forging it from the primordial flame to ensure Asgard's destruction. Whilst we are yet to meet Surtr in the God of War universe, we do hear and feel his presence in game. Whilst Muspelheim exists in the 2018 game, it's more of a trial arena than an explorable realm. Thus, we do not see the fire giant, but instead the giant sword which can interact with, as it seems that Surtr looks to test the strength of Kratos. Now, the main reason why we don't see Surtr in the 2018 game is actually because the fire giant and his army resides beneath the surface of Muspelheim. They all train endlessly for when Ragnarok begins. Now, what adds an interesting layer to this character is that whilst we know very little of Surtr from his brief interactions with the character and world, it is Mimir who does have some insight of the fire giant, actually referring to him as Surtr the Brave, painting the primordial as a patient and selfless hero of Muspelheim, sacrificing his immortality and pleasures for a goal that is much greater than his own desires. His life is a sacrifice that is one that turns the cycle.
Brave, generous Surtr, who knows he lives but to his doom. All because he chooses to serve a grand cycle so much bigger than himself. To truly embrace your purpose and the patience and sacrifice it demands is to ensure your day will come.
So, from what you can tell, this version of Surtr is incredibly different from his mythological counterpart. If anything, the roles between Odin and Surtr have been completely reversed, with Odin now being a tyrannical destroyer. It does raise the question as to why hasn't Odin attacked Surtr yet, as the Allfather did have his son Thor lay siege to the Jotuns of Midgard. Well, I believe that the answer to that is fear. We already know that the Allfather is well versed in the ways of old magic, but even with all of that knowledge, as well as his tampering of the fate of Ragnarok, he has no way to control what Surtr does and what he is capable of. Much like Kratos, it can be believed that Odin does not only fear what he represents, but also the power he wields, like the primordial flame. As pointed out in Norse mythology, it takes the combined might of two of the strongest Aesir gods to finally put a stop to Surtr. But even then, it is too late. And I believe with Odin's knowledge of Ragnarok, and knowing that Surtr's death is the first step that really leads up to his own demise, he may be purposely avoiding the fire giant in order to prevent events from unfolding. So he resides in the depths of Asgard, preparing his forces and tainting the prophecy in the hopes that he can unravel his judgment day. But for now everyone, this has been it for Who is Surtr the Brave. I hope you enjoyed this one, as it was a lot of fun to put together. Surtr plays a huge part in Ragnarok, so it felt only right that we talk about this character in depth. As I know many of you are unfamiliar with Norse mythology and may have only been introduced to the character through the God of War games or even Thor Ragnarok. So hopefully this gives you a different perspective of the character and what to expect from him in the next God of War installment. Also, just a quick reminder, the history of Hercules is still in the works and will be coming out soon. I do want to say thank you for your patience during this time. I've taken some time away recently to deal with some personal matters, but I'm back now and we will be getting back to our normal upload schedule. So once again guys, thank you for your patience. And of course, as always, stay strong, stay well, and keep on fighting as Ragnarok comes for us all. Take care everyone, see you soon.